Well,
cool.
it's so nice to meet you for the first time.
Nice to
Why
meet
don't you tell me a
you.
little bit about yourself?
Well, okay, so I'm 19. My name's Gem Chantelle, my artist name, and I make pop music. Um, I've been releasing stuff for like about maybe almost 2 years now,
Okay.
and yeah, I have some cool things coming up, but I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here. It really means a lot. So one of the questions I wanted to ask, because most of the questions that I've been asking a lot of the artists is just about like happiness and mental
Yeah,
health and stuff like that,
yeah,
because those are definitely two specific topics that we deal, I feel like, a lot with as
all the time.
creatives and artists. Yeah.
Yeah.
So specifically, like even as a woman in the music
Mhm.
industry, do you feel like society or like social media or culture is pressuring you to portray like a happy or like aesthetic version of yourself instead of like the real
Uh,
gem?
well, yes and no. I feel like it's changing a lot. I feel like now I'm seeing a lot of people be very candid and very open about their mental health and their
For
feelings
sure.
on social media, which I think is a great thing. Um, I feel like a few years ago I would have said definitely a lot of pressure to be like a certain thing or portray a certain image and look a certain way. And I definitely had like I dealt with a lot of problems just because like I would follow these people on Instagram and they looked all the same and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't look like that. Like what's wrong? Like should I look like that?"
Yeah,
And at a young age, that definitely had a big impact on me in a negative way. But I'm happy to say that now I think have started to see social media as more of an energy exchange. So now I'm a little bit more guarded about like who I'm following and what I'm deciding to engage with and what I put out there
hmm,
because yeah, like there's two sides. There's, of course there's going to be the comparisons, but you can also choose to not really engage with that so much. So I think it's changing for the better now.
for sure. I agree. Like specifically like it's like with people our age or maybe like a little
Yeah.
bit older, and even younger, like I see like it's decreasing, like the toxicity of social media is
Yeah.
decreasing less and less. And like you see all these movements start from nothing on social
Right.
media.
That's the other
So I'm
thing. Yeah.
like, yeah, like it's gotten so much better because before I remember like people couldn't even like people would have to go on like Instagram detoxes just because like people were attacking them
Yeah.
in the comments. And I'm like,
It
people are
shouldn't
so,
be like that.
yeah. But I feel
Shouldn't.
like our generation has realized like how bad it was, and we were just like, we just got to change this. Like,
We're over it. Yeah.
yeah.
Too much.
So
It's yeah. I
yeah,
agree with
I'm
that.
I'm glad we've moved on from everything that was because it was terrible,
Yeah.
especially like in like middle school and like
Oh my
high
God. Yeah.
school. Ugh.
No. Nope. No. Yeah. Now I feel like I don't, maybe safer is not the right word, but
Mm,
it's a, it's a friendlier environment now. I
for
feel like.
sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like super thirsty. Um, so when you first became an artist, did you feel like a responsibility to kind of like filter parts of yourself on social media to your fans or like, because I know, with some artists, like, if it's like Lady Gaga, like they have a certain image that they have to
Exactly.
maintain or something like that. Did you ever feel like that when you started?
I did. That's actually been one of my biggest struggles with social media because in person, like a conversation right now, it's easy to, like relate to people and it's just different when you're face to face with somebody, whereas through social media, it's just a screen. So
Mm,
you're not really like it's you, but it's just it feels different and it almost feels like, okay, I'm posting this for like people to see. So obviously I don't want to put too much out there,
yeah,
but you want people to have a sense of your personality and who you are as an artist because that's important. If people are going to listen to your music, you want them to know like the unfiltered version of you.
yeah.
So that's always been my struggle is finding the balance between like showing my personality but also keeping some things private and like it's something I'm still working on, but yeah, for me I definitely did kind of feel like I had to filter myself to come across as a certain way. I'm working on it though. I'm trying to just like be more candid on
Yeah,
social.
for sure. I feel like most artists deal with that. in their own ways. Like for me, like I the first thing I thought of was like when I became an artist is like, oh, I have to portray myself as like an artist, which means like I have
Right.
to be untouchable and like people shouldn't see
Mhm.
me in public and whatever. And I was like, then when I started thinking about it, I was like, I wouldn't want to see that in my favorite artist. So like why would
Exactly.
I fake it?
Right.
Like
You want them to be like, "Oh, they're a person." You know?
exactly. And I
Yeah.
remember when I started out, I was so like obsessed with like, oh, all my pictures have to be the right color so that it's all like
Right,
matching
the
my
feed.
Instagram.
The feed.
And I was like,
Yeah.
it's so hard to maintain. So then after a while, I was like, it was affecting my mental health. Like I was so obsessed with like, if I don't take a picture of this, no one's gonna follow me. If I don't do
Mhm.
this, like, and
Yeah.
it was becoming obsessive. And I was like, bro, you need to stop. Like
Right.
it was
You just take a breath. It's
yeah, and it
okay.
was bad.
Yeah.
So, like little by little, I would say literally this year and a little bit of last year, I started really just like projecting who I am on social media, like
Yeah.
the best that I can.
Mhm.
Because I feel like with social media, like as much as we try to stay authentic, part of it will still kind of be a little bit um like simulated because even though
Yeah.
like if you're taking a picture of yourself like at a restaurant or like out
Right.
with your friends, like you're still posing, so it's not like
Exactly.
real, but it's still like as real as you can get, and
As
that's what
real
I
as you can
like.
get.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the feed for me is like because personally, I don't even love social media that much, so it's not like I really care how my feed looks, but then it's like you need it to come across as a certain way to get people interested, and
for sure.
it's just like there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, of course. And I feel like literally like you just said it, like the only reason why I think I have social media is just because, and I'm sure for you too, is just like
Yeah,
engagement with my fans. Like that's
right.
literally
That's
all.
what yeah, that's what we have to do it for,
Exactly.
pretty much.
Yeah, and like I said before, I like how I felt like I had to sacrifice um just kind of like my mental health when I was doing all that stuff to like fake my
Mhm.
image on social media.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you ever sacrifice anything, whether it's to look a certain way on social media, or
Mhm.
um, do you think maybe you've sacrificed something to appear happy or to be happy?
Yeah. Uh, I think that I dealt with that more like early high school days. I definitely kind of I did things that I wouldn't normally like want to do just to kind of fit in or like
For
appear
sure.
a certain way.
Yeah.
And at the time, I wasn't thinking like, oh, like I'm this is not who I am. I was kind of just like, oh, well, this is what everyone else is doing, so this is clearly what I should be doing, you know. Um, and it took a little while for me to kind of break that cycle and realize like, okay, like I can be my own person and find my own group of friends and like be happier without having to try to mold into something that I'm not.
For sure.
And I feel like once I made that switch, I wasn't really sacrificing anything anymore because now I'm just letting myself be and everything that I'm supposed to attract is now like coming my way because I'm not faking anything anymore.
Yeah, that's really good. A lot of people don't come to that,
Right. Yeah.
realization.
It takes a
So,
while.
yeah, it really does. So how would you say, because we are still in a pandemic, and I can't
Yeah.
believe it's been like a year already. Like
I
that's
know. It's so
crazy.
weird. It's like a timeline.
How's your like mental health been? Like how have you been like taking care of
Oh,
yourself
that's a
during
good question.
all this?
Um, yeah, okay. So I was thinking about this before actually. I think the pandemic has probably been one of the best things for my mental health, not necessarily because I've been feeling great all the time,
Sure.
but because we're kind of forced to be like alone with our thoughts
Mm,
much more than we ever have been before because there's no more distractions of like going out or going to this concert, whatever. So it's really just, okay, I'm stuck with myself. So now I'm facing all the things that I usually avoid. And at first it was scary, but once I really kind of started digging deep and like getting to know myself and like just spending time with myself more,
yeah.
I started to realize, oh, this is what I really need to be happy. These are the people that I really need in my life. Or like, I didn't even realize like I've been doing this for so long, but it's not adding anything to my life and I don't even miss it like anymore. So I think this quarantine and this pandemic has really put into perspective like what matters
Mm,
and what doesn't. And it's also made me like really face myself and I think I've grown a lot because of it. So it's been rough at times, but I think beneficial overall.
For sure, like I totally agree with that. Like um specifically for the pandemic, like at first I felt very inspired because I was like, oh, now I have all this time to work on music and to
Yeah,
work on myself.
yeah,
But then at the same time, I kind of started, like, after maybe a week or two, I was like, now I have no choice but to work on music
right.
and to like be with myself. So am I doing this because like I want to or because I have no
Have
choice?
to do.
So that made me fall down another rabbit hole. I was like,
Spiral.
oh,
Another
so
spiral.
yeah, but I agree. Like the even though the pandemic was terrible for a lot of people,
Hmm.
um, like I tried
Yeah.
to find the best part of it that I could in like all that darkness. So,
Hmm.
and I feel like I don't know. Like I think as time goes by, you just have to keep learning how to do that because bad things are always going to happen.
Exactly.
So we have
Exactly.
to find ways to just like grow
Find
from them
what
and
to be grateful for. Yeah.
exactly. Um, Another question that I had was, do you, because I know, even during the pandemic, like I've had super low days where sometimes I didn't want to get out of bed. And like
Hmm.
I've had, I don't know, like lately I've been suffering from like a lot of like imposter syndrome. Like I felt like a lot of the things that I
Oh.
was accomplishing, like I didn't deserve. And maybe I was just lucky or
Oh.
like it was just terrible. And I think that was just because I wasn't so used to being alone with myself for that long
Hmm.
and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
for a while, I had to like figure out that when I'm still trying to learn that I deserve to be happy.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
because, I feel like even the worst person, which is hard to say, like I think everyone deserves happiness. Um,
I
even
agree.
even if it's like because there's some people that I just don't want to involve with because their vibe and their energy just is like too negative or
Mhm.
they're just not great people. But I still believe that in their own way of like some form they deserve to find happiness. Maybe not for me, but like in their
Yes. No. Yeah.
but do you feel the same way? Like, do you think that you deserve happiness or that like other people deserve happiness?
Yeah. That's really interesting that you were talking about that like imposter syndrome. Because I feel like it's almost when people say I deserve to be happy, people are almost like, oh, well, that's like kind of cocky of you to say. It's almost like happiness is not something that you should deserve or like you need to earn. Happiness is something that we're all entitled to. And it's okay to be like, I want to be happy. Like we should all want to be happy. It's not something that you need to like be afraid of.
Yeah,
So I think that that was something that I had to work on a lot too, is like being able to confidently say, like, no, I deserve to be happy. Like, why shouldn't I be happy? And so it did take me a while to like get comfortable with that idea, but it's true. I mean, there's enough happiness to go around for everybody. It's not like you're taking anything away, and you should want to be happy. It's healthy. So
sure.
yeah, I do think I deserve happiness. I agree. I think everybody does, and it's different for everybody. Um, but yeah.
Would you say like being an artist, has that like put you more in connection with like how you like your feelings and, just like happiness in general and like your mental state and stuff like that?
It definitely has. It has. It's taken a while to get there. Because obviously as an artist, you have your ups and downs and there's a lot of uncertainty involved.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the biggest thing was kind of learning, okay, I'm going to embrace the uncertainty and I can't change it, I can't control it, but I can take it as inspiration and just learn to like live in the present moment. And I think that switch in my mindset has opened up a lot of doors for me because now I'm not like shying away from things. Now I'm like, okay, I want to jump into the uncertainty and I want to try new things, and even if it doesn't work out, at least I tried it out and now I'm moving on to the next thing. And
Mm,
so I feel like that switch for me has allowed me to really like figure out what does make me happy as an artist.
that's awesome. And that kind of leads me to my main question, which is like really a really hard question.
Okay.
But what does happiness mean to you? Because I know for some people, there's like 10,000 different definitions. Because like for me,
Yeah.
happiness is pretty much like the way I see it is like I kind of see happiness as something that we project
Hmm.
onto things. So like for example, if I want to get the new line of Yeezys that came out or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
that will make me happy because I decided that that makes me happy. And then once I get it, like I can either choose that it's going to make me happy forever, or that eventually it'll fade and I'll have to find
Right.
something else to make me happy. That's kind of
Mhm.
how I see how it works. But what is your definition of
No,
happiness?
I agree with that. I think for a long time I thought materialistic things, or I would say, oh, like when I live here, or when I do this thing, or when I have this amount of money, I'm gonna be happy.
Mm,
And maybe that will make you happy. You know, those things can definitely make you happy, but it's a temporary happiness. You
hmm.
know, I think that true, like actual happiness is when you are truly content with yourself. Like if everything got taken away in this moment, would you still be happy? You know, I think that's the question you have to ask.
Yeah,
And it takes work. Like I'm not saying that like, you know, everybody has their moments and their days and their struggles, but I think at the end of the day, you can have everything, but if you're not content with yourself and you don't know yourself, then you're not going to be happy.
for sure. And I was talking about this with one of my friends. We were talking about how some people like have this really unhealthy way of being happy, where their happy is dependent upon something else
Mm-hmm.
or someone else, and if
Mm-hmm.
that person's not
A
around, or if
struggle.
that thing,
Yeah,
yeah, if and then all of a sudden your world comes crumbling down,
exactly.
and then then
Not
because
healthy.
a lot of people don't realize that they do that, then they're
Yeah,
like, oh my god, I have an issue or I have a problem, and then they start spiraling, and it's
yeah.
crazy.
I've done that. I've had like, and without even realizing it, like you said, like been completely dependent on somebody else for my happiness.
Hmm.
And then once I didn't have that anymore, it was kind of like a shock. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much my happiness was dependent upon this person or how they were treating me. And
Hmm.
now it's like I've realized definitely within like the last few months how important it is to be your own source of happiness. And like it's work, you know, it takes work. It's not like you're gonna wake up one day and be like, oh, everything's great.
Yeah,
But that it has to come from you.
for sure. And I totally agree with that, because when I was younger, even like up to recently,
Hmm.
I actually, when I was younger, I used to find that I was more extroverted, and I thought that I was becoming more and more introverted, because what I realized was I was being very friendly because my happiness came from wanting people's acceptance, and like
Uh,
I was a people
yeah,
pleaser. Like I would do
yeah,
anything to have friends, because I didn't
exactly.
have a lot. Like in high school, I didn't have a lot. In middle school, I was bullied all the time, so I had to transfer schools. Like it
Oh,
was terrible.
wow.
But eventually, when I decided to like just be myself, and then the people who actually care about me will come to me,
Exactly.
that's
True.
when I found out I was way more introverted than I am
Hmm.
extroverted. Like I have my moments, um
Yeah.
like with my vibe with people, for example, like if you were here, I'm pretty sure like we'd go chill at Starbucks, or like
Yeah.
go eat
Oh yeah,
something
definitely.
after. But
Uh-huh.
like if someone's vibe is just like not, if I'm not vibing with it, I just totally become a turtle, and I'm just like
Me too.
it's
Me
so
too.
weird.
No, it's because like I'm the type of person where I cannot compete with somebody else's energy. You know, like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna try to match your energy. If we're not on the same wave, then we're just not. And like I'm not gonna try to force it.
Hmm.
So maybe like at times I kind of feel like that makes me come across as like kind of closed off.
Yeah,
But I'm not closed off. It's just like if I know we're not gonna click, then I'm not gonna try to force it to happen.
exactly. I totally get that, because so even with like my friends, like sometimes I notice like some people might say that me or like someone else is like, oh,
Hmm.
like really standoffish or closed off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you really don't understand. Like sometimes if you let someone into your energy or like into your space, and then
Right.
all of a sudden they're just not good for you, like
Yeah.
that's your fault. But then,
Yeah.
if you like you or like me, just
Hmm.
really are cognizant of the people that we let into our space, we're really
Yeah.
just like cutting out so much drama and negativity.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's so crazy.
It is. But I think it's better to like have that understanding of yourself rather than take on too much and more than you can handle.
For
Because
sure.
there's nothing worse than like having friends that just kind of drain your energy. Because it takes a toll on your mental health for sure. So I'd rather
Mhm.
just like surround myself with people that I know are good for me.
For sure. I totally get that, because
Yeah.
when I was in my people pleasing days, I used
Hmm.
to literally have what I didn't know were anxiety attacks. And
Oh,
like,
oh.
to me, so like because I was doing it so often, like
Yeah.
I thought that everyone goes through these things that I was going through. I was
Oh,
like I'd sometimes cry myself to sleep at night, or
oh.
I'd be out at a restaurant and when I go to the bathroom, I'd start like heavily breathing because of just like the overwhelming social
Mhm.
anxiety and stuff like
Right.
that from just all these terrible
Nervousness,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. And um it's just crazy how, yeah, I forgot where I was going with it, but
No, but yeah, you gotta be careful with who you let in.
yeah. It's so crazy how, before, like, mental health wasn't even a thing that was on my radar,
Right.
and then, as I grew up, I feel like I started realizing that how important it was, like, the same way with, like, body care or, like, skincare or, like, stuff like that. Because I started getting into that too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
all
so
good.
crazy how much it matters. And before, I used to look at people because I would hear little things about like mental health and stuff in college, and
Mhm.
I'd be like, oh, they're probably just like on this weird like cultish type thing,
Right, like yeah,
like
a
kind
new
of like
trend.
spacey or whatever.
Yeah,
And I'm like, then when I started getting into it, I was like, oh, they're literally just caring about their brains.
right, they're
Like
just
that's all it is.
exactly. They're taking time to learn about themselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely even in the last couple of years, I mean, now it's just it's talked about, whereas, like, when I was growing younger, it really wasn't talked about so much. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's a very positive switch.
For sure. And I'm glad that we've gotten to that point where it's like normalized.
Yeah.
Because even like I'll be out at, you know, Starbucks or wherever and like having a casual conversation with like the what do you call the person at the,
Barista?
yeah, like the barista or like the
Mhm.
checkout person.
Yeah.
And like just in our 30-second exchange, like I'll ask them how they're doing and they'll even tell
Mhm.
me, oh, I've been stressed, like blah blah blah. And before,
Yeah.
like, most people would just be like, I'm good. And I'm like,
Right. Because exactly. But,
yes.
like, it's healthy to share things, you know?
For sure. Even with strangers, like if even like communicating um just how you're feeling in the moment can be a good thing.
Mhm.
Um I just think it's good that we're getting to a point where, we're normalizing
Right.
caring about other people and ourselves.
Yeah.
So
100%.
those are pretty much all the things that I had to talk about. Is there anything that you have coming up that you wanted to share or
Um,
talk about?
well, I have a release coming out on February 19th, which I'm excited about. It's a collab, so
Oh,
that's cool. And I'll be releasing singles every month until my EP comes out in the fall. So,
nice. You
yeah,
got an
I'm excited.
EP?
Well, yeah, it's finished now, and it'll be out like in either October or November. So,
Wow. What
yeah,
kind of like sounds are gonna be in it?
lots of strings. I'm a big
Ooh,
fan of the
strings.
strings, and definitely, I would say, kind of airy, melodic, lo-fi type beats.
I
So,
love it. Who are
yeah.
some of your like inspirations as like an
Ooh,
artist?
Sasha Sloan is a big one.
Oh my
Are
god.
you a Sasha fan?
Literally, I just got into her like a month and a half
Isn't she the
ago.
best?
She's
She's so
so
good.
good
She like
because
it's like she can read your mind, you know?
yes, and I found her because I literally just started like not branding myself, but I just started
Mhm.
calling myself like a sad boy because I found out like
Mm,
I had anxiety and depression, and I was
yeah,
like, that's what I'm gonna call myself. And I like
exactly.
Googled it, and then Sasha came up, and I was
Sad
like,
girl.
that girl, and I was like, who is
Sad
this?
girl Sloan. Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of Julia Michaels, and they
Mhm.
follow each other, and I was like, oh my god. And then I started like falling down
Yeah,
Sasha's discography, and I
she's
was
awesome. I love her.
so good. Did you ever listen to Regina Spektor?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a huge
Yeah.
inspiration of mine. Like,
Okay, cool.
so
Yeah,
good.
I listened to your single that this interview is for. I love it. It's really good.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I just recently I decided to just make music about how I'm feeling and just honest music.
Mhm.
Because before I was really struggling after my EP, like what to do from there.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of my music is just based off of like really heavy experiences that I know people will relate to.
Mhm.
So I was just trying to think like, what do I do next? And I was like, let's just
Yeah.
talk about things that people go through.
Yeah.
So
That's a great place to start.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jem, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and I'm so glad to have talked to you, and I actually learned a lot talking to you, which is
Oh, good.
amazing.
No, yeah,
Uh,
this was a lot of fun. I've never done an interview before, so this is cool.
what? This is your first interview?
Yeah, this is my first interview.
Oh my gosh. Well, this
Yeah.
is probably like the chillest one ever because
No,
like
it didn't even feel it just felt like a conversation,
for
so
sure. I get so stressed out during interviews because I'm like, oh my God, I have to fix my lighting and I have to dress and
right,
like
you gotta
do
look the
everything.
part. Yeah.
I'm literally sitting on my bed crisscross with
Me too. I'm on my bed too.
like
Yeah.
well, it was again, it was so awesome having you, and I hope you have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too.